Good morning. I'm so excited about this month's webinar. We're not going to let a Zoom technical glitch stop us, Ryan. We are going to get this webinar out because you guys have some really good content to talk about today. And I cannot wait. I've been blasting it. I talked about it this morning on Facebook, and I've been sharing it with everyone. But this year's webinar series are going to be super epic. So good morning, come in, welcome, put something in the chat and let us know you are here. So excited about this year's webinar. Ryan, Happy New Year. I don't even know if I've seen you this year.
Happy New Year, Tiara. I was just gonna say, if we can survive 2020, we can survive a few technical difficulties to get the webinar started here.
Absolutely we can. Absolutely we can. It's nothing like kicking off Zoom, which we should all be experts at by now, right? We should all know Zoom like the back of our hands. And still, I think the problem is too many people are on Zoom now.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna take the Zoom servers down there. So
for sure.
So
well, Ryan, if you want to start up your screen, I know that you, as I stated, have some really cool content. Guys, we're going to be putting some links in the chat, but want you to know this year we're calling this our Epic Asphalt Life webinar series because we are stepping up our webinar game. As virtual events go, we've been running these webinars for 3 years, and just hold on to your seats because this year is going to be one of our very, 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 very best. So I'm so excited because my friend Ryan Shantz is just really such an innovator, I would say, in the space of helping people, contractors. You know, Ryan, you've been a contractor, right? So a lot of our listening audience, you've been in their shoes, and so I think that just adds so much more validity to what you're bringing to talk to us today in the space of 5 elements to perfect that sales quote in that quoting process.
Yeah, no, besides running SumoQuote right now, I'm also one of the owners of a large roofing exteriors company up in Canada here. So I've got some great partners with my business. So they run our other businesses and I run SumoQuote, but my background is I ran our residential sales for 5 or 6 years. And during that time, managed a team that sold about $100 million worth of work. And that was both retail and insurance work. So that's my background, quite a bit of experience on the sales side, specifically for roofing contractors.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I will turn it over to you. And, you know, I know we're going to make this very conversational as always, but excited to have you share with us today. So awesome. 5 elements of perfect sales quote.
Okay, this is great. And if you, Tiara, just on the technical difficulty side, it's saying that participant screen sharing has been disabled. So are we able to let me
yep, let me fix that now.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, and David, yeah, 100 million in roofing sales. We're typically, because I was running for a number of years there, we're typically running around 25 million a year between our residential and commercial divisions. This last year we were fortunate. You know, we had a big hail event here. So we were actually north of 35 million for sales this last year. So yeah, very fortunate on that side. Awesome. And Tiara, it looks like we are set up and running. There. How are we doing, Tiara? We got it there?
Yes, we are live. I love it.
Awesome. Nice. Wonderful. Okay, we're going. So yeah, I'm not sure how most of you think about a quote, but for me at one point in my career, I just thought about it as a necessity and something to give a price. And we were missing a significant opportunity there. So At one point, we sat and we thought, how are we going to really differentiate ourselves? How are we going to show the homeowner they're going to get a different type of experience with us than they are with other roofing contractors? Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, it's really difficult for a homeowner to tell us apart, right? We kind of all end up sounding the same, looking the same, even smelling the same, right? So how can a homeowner really understand the type of different experience they're going to get um, at the sales, like throughout production when it's at the sales level? And so that's where we started to focus heavily on our quote, sort of as that proof point of the homeowner understanding how different we really were. And that's where we really got into this whole concept of SumoQuote. And now I've been obsessing for years over this now, and seeing the results in our company of how much of a difference a quote can make, and those elements that you can include in it to really help you stand out. So,
well, it is. It really, some of our data that with our partner 3M, Ryan, they tell us that homeowners, when they're making that large purchase decision, they do get multiple quotes. And it's like that, those things as an estimate really are the differentiator, not to just the wife who's sitting at the kitchen table with you at that moment, but also their husband that comes in and is asking about the details of this $12,000 purchase, right? So, I think that makes, what you guys are doing so much more impactful, because, it helps tell the story when you're gone.
No, you're right. And it was true before. It's probably even more true today. So we all know that it's great to be able to sell at the kitchen table because you can see the people, you can interact with them, they can interact with you. And you naturally just bring a lot of these 5 elements that we're going to be talking about. What we're going to be focusing on today is how do you take a lot of those things and get them into your quote so that you're not just saying them and you're not just expressing them or showing them, but you're now reinforcing it with your quote so that it's a consistent brand experience start to finish. Because oftentimes you can't sit at the kitchen table as easily now. And you are relying on making sure that people have that same experience or that same understanding of everything you're sharing with them, even if you're not present. And so a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about, it's all going to be applicable on the sales side. We're going to focus on it for the part of the quote though, so that it is consistent there. And Tiara, my wonderful co-host today. So Tiara has a load of marketing experience and it's been in this roofing space for a long time. So we've already touched on some of my experiences here, but Tiara I've got to work with quite a bit this last year. It's been phenomenal to see what she does and what Atlas does in this space in really trying to focus on the differentiating part. So Tiara, it is wonderful as always to be working with you here.
Oh, absolutely, Ryan. And, I thank you for those kudos. But, I think the biggest thing is, more than marketing, it's really, somebody said B to H, right? You're working with business to humans, and that making that connection is something that you guys do so well. So I'm super thrilled that you guys are a part of this series and kicking off this year's webinar.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thanks for having us. Okay, so people, please understand, we're going to actually do a very different style of webinar today. This is going to be a bit more interactive. And
yes.
So, Tiara, I'm going to be relying on you to be monitoring the chat and some of the feedback and stuff, but let's go to this. So, why does presentation matter? When you look at the biggest brands out there, they look at every touch point along the way. So homeowners are not just evaluating you on how do you look and how do you talk when you're sitting at the kitchen table. They're evaluating your website. They're evaluating the truck that you drove up in. They're evaluating your quote. They're evaluating every experience to make sure that it's consistent along the way. And they want to make sure what they're doing these days is they're not just comparing you from that experience level to other contractors. What I say in the industry here is a lot of the time as roofing contractors, we look at this and we're like, well, hey, we're better than all these other roofing contractors, right? My comment is just because you're better than terrible doesn't make you good. And so if you really want to start performing at the level that we can these days, so starting to think about the experience that Amazon gives, right? That your bank might give, or even your grocery store has picked up their game in how they let you order pick up your food, do all these different things. So this whole thing, every touch point matters, and your presentation, because that is the thing that people are actually looking at when they're making that decision, whether you're sitting there or whether it's after hours, as Tiara said, your presentation is massively important. And obviously the example on your screen here, Apple does such a phenomenal job of that entire process feeling consistent and putting a ton of thought and energy and effort into each point there. So let's get going with this. I figured we'd start off just to get people comfortable with this whole concept of, hey, we're going to make this a bit more interactive. Give us some things that you guys love to buy. And then why do you love to buy those things? What are the types of brands? What are the types of products? What are the types of experiences? What are those things? And I'm going to exit this. And I'm actually going to make some notes here as we're going here. We're going to do the sticky board thing.
Yay. Go ahead and put some stuff in the chat, you guys, things you love to buy. I would say as COVID, a year of COVID, our things we're buying are different, right? So, you know, electronics, Ron said, especially big TVs, beer has come up. I would workout equipment. A lot of people have been purchasing different things. Kathy is buying purses now. She's stacking up her purse. Let me know to slow down, no problem. So yeah, purses, jewelry, tools. Whoa, Tim, I'm impressed.
That is a great one as well.
Tools, workout gear, whether it's the outfit or the kettlebell or the bike. We're actually getting Tim is interesting. He's purchasing Corvette parts, Ryan.
Oh man, I like his style. Okay, so that's awesome. Why do you love to buy those things? Like these, so yeah, what are the emotions? What are the experiences? What are the things that are created with that?
Brand names is a big reason. Great one, Doug. Doug said the brand comfort is the reason we buy these things. Awesome. What else, guys? Why do you buy your certain brand of beer or your certain brand of purse? The overall appearance or aesthetic that it's giving you. To feed the hobby of doing something, to using your hands.
Yeah, I'm just going to say general enjoyment of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even this is good. David said the friction of purchasing, right? The action of a purchase, making a purchases decision. If you're like a buying person, that even, you know, for smaller purchases, I'm sure can, or even larger purchases for you, those of you who have gotten multiple cars. I don't know who you are, but I'm willing to test drive some of those. Known for reliability and quality, pride. Awesome. Yep, all good feedback.
These are all great. So I'm going to leave it there. But these are some of the things as we're going through this, people typically, and we're going to do a couple of these, you guys. So, but people typically aren't going through with a roofing purchase saying, man, I love to buy roofs. And you know what? The brand of the company out there, like that just resonates with me, makes me enjoy my life more, the appearance. We're selling this stuff, but we think as roofers too often. And we've got to start thinking as consumers, because we all are consumers. And so for us to start thinking about the types of things that we like to buy and why, those are the types of things we want to start sliding into the experience of purchasing a roof and going through that. So these were all great. So let's keep going here. So the 5 elements of a perfect quote. So why does this matter? Obviously it matters because we all want to sell more. And right now we're probably looking at our quotes thinking, I use it mainly just to give a price, and then, you know, the rest of it is me. I'm going to be the one talking to them following up, doing all this. So, but we want to take all the best aspects of you as a salesperson and make sure your quote is conveying those as well. And so we want to talk about how your quote connects with somebody, how it educates them, how it helps solve a problem for them, how it gives them selection. Part of that fun of buying is researching and figuring out, which one should I get? Should I get this one or this one? And there's a bit of excitement or a bit of that challenge going through that. And then the proof of it, proving that this is the right thing. So we're going to go through and think about how these things can be integrated into your quote.
Yeah. And, these are the same experiences, like you said, that the consumer uses. The same buying patterns and things that are important to you as a contractor are the same things you should think of in your processing that with your homeowners. So
yeah,
connecting. Yep.
Exactly. So thinking as a consumer, think about when you make purchases, you purchase off emotion a lot of the time. As much as people like me want to think that I am just logical, a Harvard professor says, and you can't doubt them because they're a Harvard professor, right? So, but anyway, Harvard professor says 95% of purchasing decisions are subconscious. When marketing to a consumer, it's most effective to target the subconscious mind. And that's something I'd never thought about quotes in that type of a manner before, of targeting the subconscious mind. But when we're putting a quote together, and we've got two samples here, so the cover page on the left, where the homeowner's actual house on there, and the homeowner has a lot of emotion tied to their house, right? That's something that they love. They think about their family experiences there. You start subconsciously getting all of these emotions of, Christmases and Thanksgivings and, bringing kids home and all of this stuff, right? You're starting to tie that to your quote. And that's the type of thing that you want to start thinking about doing to create an emotional response. And of course, that's not the only way to create an emotional response, but you look at the other sample there, and it's pretty lifeless. There's not really much to connect with there at all. It's just, okay, great, you're giving me a price. I'm telling you the products. I get it, right? So let's go through this again. And let's talk quickly, because I want you guys to have some practical things at the end of this to be able to implement, or things to think about of how you could do this type of thing. So let's talk about what are some things that you think you could include in a quote. And it might be very similar things to what you're doing with your presentation when you're talking to them. But what are some things you can do to subconsciously connect people to your quote? What are some ways that you can make them emotionally connect to your quote? Any ideas on that out there?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and start typing that in the chat, guys. Ways that you can create a subconscious connection in your quoting experiencing. Ease of buying experience.
Totally. Yep. Ease of buying.
Reliability and quality. What else, guys? Brand names. Associating your brand to a larger brand that the homeowner represents or is familiar with.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Personal stories is in here from Nick. He said personal stories and experiences. Your company's why, right?
I like the why comment. Awesome.
Oh, I like it. Bill Taylor says, adding a picture to connect them with your product, adding a picture of their home, as well as their, their pet, their home in your quote. So it feels more personalized. Warranties, utilizing storytelling in your presentation workflow. So lots of good stuff.
Yeah. One of the ones And just to piggyback off of the stories and make it personal, I built a quote one time where it was the client's house in it, and they had this like cute little fluff ball dog, right? And just to be funny, I took a picture where I sort of squatted down by the ground, had the dog taking up about a quarter of the front of the frame with their house in the background. I used that as their cover image. And just the personalized, I mean, they laughed at it, right? They loved it when they saw it.
Right. But it was connecting them and you to this is not just a sale, this is actually their home. And it connected both of you. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, even throwing something in, if you've walked around their house and they've mentioned their rose bushes 3 times, put the picture of their rose bushes in on an inspection page and you know, say, hey, you know, put it in there to say, we're going to double tarp this. We're going to make sure that this is protected. But if you're speaking the language of the thing that they love and you're highlighting that, that's a way to be connecting with them there.
Right. Even their grass, you know, grass is super important to some people. They worked really hard on their grass and their grass is like stands up all year round. It's perfectly green. Like, how are you protecting that asset for that homeowner?
Totally. And I know we didn't get all of those. I know there's a ton there, but I just wanted, it's starting to go down that route, right? Of how do you have your quote actually connect with the homeowner emotionally as well? So you're going to want to obviously do that as a human to human, as Tara was talking about earlier. But you can do these things within your quote so that when they're making that decision, you're standing out there.
Love it.
The next thing, educate. One of the interesting things that I've heard out there, and I'm sure this is not the contractors on our call here today, but where they feel like they actually need to make it very confusing to the homeowner, that they need to try and make it so that the homeowner doesn't understand things, so they're the product expert. And now, you know, so they talk in industry jargon. You know, they include a whole bunch of things that aren't relevant to the homeowner doesn't understand, and it ends up feeling like, oh, well, I say that so that they know, you know, how much they should be paying for me and how much of an expert I am. And really, I think it has the opposite effect. Confusion creates roadblocks and slows the sale. It makes the homeowner think that they need to step back and actually do more research and try and figure things out because, you know, it's a big purchase. So confusion will actually diminish your ability to close a deal.
Great.
And so on educating here, I included an inspection page. This was actually a job that I was on, I think it was back in 2016. And I remember standing on the ground with the homeowner and, you know, talking about this. And, you know, as much as I was trying to explain this dead spot behind her chimney, you know, it was clear that she wasn't totally getting it. And so for me to share this and say, well, hey, we're going to build a cricket behind there to make sure that water is flowing off correctly and we don't have this high risk area. The interesting thing with this is studies have shown that visual content is comprehended 10 times faster. And it's not just comprehended 10 times faster, it's retained 10 times longer. So you understand this immediately, the issue and how it's going to be corrected, and you can explain it to somebody else easily. So these are the type of things that you want to do. And of course, now I'm noticing spelling mistakes over here. I'll point it out to everyone just because I'm embarrassed, but you know, whatever. This is what happens when I work late. So
I love it.
Yeah. But the education side here, people often talk about being a trusted advisor. And that's that critical part of when you educate, you can become that trusted advisor. And you don't always have to be talking about just things relevant to the exact piece that you're working on. You can start to position yourself as the trusted advisor with things outside of that as well. So now I think so, just so you guys don't feel like I'm going to put you on the spot the entire webinar, I think this is the last time I'm doing this, but let's go through this one more time. What are some things you can educate the customer on? And I broke it out thinking there's some different types of sales that we're doing, right? There's retail sales, there's insurance sales, there's large quotes, bids, large projects that we're working on. And each of these, we might want to educate something slightly differently. So using this sort of framework again here, I'll jump out of here once more. And what are some of the types of things that you think you could educate the customer on?
Yeah. Doug says ventilation, balance intake and exhaust.
Oh man, that's a huge one.
Yep. Tim mentioned warranties.
Yeah, the warranties is a great one as well.
Yep. Tony says financing options.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this one's good. Doug says scope of work versus price, right? Educating them on that scope of the work and how that compares to the price.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put that over in insurance because a lot of time people don't understand either the scope of work or the price exactly with insurance.
Right. Nick says retail, under the retail section, difference in the shingles and quality types. So for example, you know, what's the difference in the different look and feels as well as the quality of each type, which I think could be the same category and very different ones as well. Deductibles and how they work, Tim says, that's a big one.
Yeah.
You guys throw me some large bid things that you educate your clients when you're doing your commercial job or your apartment buildings. What are those things looking like?
Well, this one is difficult for people to see, but what we did with this one, you can read it just slightly. It's a case study. And so here we talk about who the client is, the types of products that we installed, the timeline it took, because on this job, it was actually a large James Hardy siding job.
Okay.
And so we wanted to convey confidence that we've done this type of job before. We can easily handle this again. This isn't a big deal. We do this all the time.
Right.
That's the type of thing we were trying to convey with actually inserting a case study into the quote. Also,
unseen damage costs. David mentioned that. Nick says the Core 4 technology and how it's evolved from SBS. You know, in terms of the classifications of shingles and their quality.
These are all great. So
safety measures, last one. So safety measures and training. I thought that was great from Tony.
Awesome. Yes.
Yep.
Well, and yeah, those are all. These are all great. Now, my big question is, how often are these actually included in people's quotes? Because a lot of this stuff ends up getting missed. What I had put here, and people touched on this a bunch, product. Educate people on product and how it's different. Let them make, if, you know, and this can be leaning into a pain that they've had in the past as well. If it's, you know, a nasty looking roof, educate people in insurance on the exact scope of work or the insurance process, the step-by-step of what the insurance process will entail and how you're going to guide them through that. Make it easy for them, you know, do bullet points, and if you do it in writing, now they have something to refer back to track with, as opposed to, I think he said something like this, you know what, I don't all remember. They all kind of sounded the same and said the same stuff. So,
the clearer you can make that process for them, especially with insurance, especially with warranties, the easier they are to rely on you and make that decision to buy from you.
Exactly. So educating people, this is a big way to stand out as you're going through this, and you want that consistency so that your quote educates just as much, right?
For sure.
Solving the problem. So the big one here, and this is one we're going to dive into a bit of story brand stuff from Donald Miller. He does a really excellent job of walking people through this stuff. But I like the quote on the left here. Homeowners never read, it should have said believe anything at first. Or sorry, never read anything at first. They never believe anything at first. They never buy anything at first, right?
Yeah.
You need to connect with them, as we already talked about. But as a part of that connection and getting them so that they can buy, you need to understand and know their problem. This is the one that I think, again, most of us miss out on or don't understand, because we think their problem is a leaky roof, or we think their problem is just that the roof is old and they need a new roof. We miss understanding that their real problem is somebody said financing before. They don't have the money to do it. That they that one of their kids is getting married and, you know, in 2 weeks, and all the relatives are coming and they want their house to look amazing and they don't want to be stressing out about their roof and stuff like that. That they don't understand the insurance process. That, I mean, the big thing here is understanding the problem to start, because then you can start to connect and demonstrate a solution and actually solve it for them.
Right. It's funny, you know, when you talk about selling, half of that is listening, right?
Yeah.
It's really incorporating your ear to ask, you know, questions that are open-ended, right? Something we talk about in sales a lot is, you know, how are you asking those questions? Are they open-ended questions so you can kind of get to the root of why this person's needing a new roof or wanting a repair versus a full replacement? You know, how do you listen and ask those questions?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. 2 ears and 1 mouth, right, Tiara?
Yeah. For a reason, right?
Yeah. Well, and then having empathy to be able to connect with them. And so I'm going to give you guys a framework here. And this is one, and sorry that it's pixelated and blurry. I stole this from StoryBrand, but go buy their book. I'll put the plug in for them, make it worth their while. So, but this whole thing, they're tying this in StoryBrand, they're tying it to story, that whole concept of what it's like for a homeowner to go through this stuff. And what they end up doing is, in the example, is they end up comparing Star Wars as a story, as a storyline, the movie, to Tommy Boy, right? The old Chris Farley classic. And they basically say these two are the same story, right? It doesn't matter if it's Luke Skywalker or Chris Farley. They're the hero of the story. But, you know, they're lost, they're confused, their business is about to go under, or they don't understand the powers of the Force, and, you know, they're an orphan. They don't know who their dad is, right? And then they've got a problem, right? The business is about to go under, the Empire is going to take over, you know, Death Star, all that stuff. And then they meet a guide. And that, you know, and again, it doesn't matter if it's David Spade or Yoda. It's this same type of story.
Yeah.
And the big thing that we as contractors often think is that we are the hero of the story, or the story is supposed to be about us. What we don't recognize enough is homeowners really don't care about our business. They really don't. They care about themselves and they care about their home, but they don't know how to do this. So the hero of the story, again, why we put their house on the cover to make the story about them, is the homeowner. They are the character, the hero. They have a problem, and that those 3 circles, the understanding, you need to understand what that problem is. And so as you're going through quotes, sometimes the character is an insurance adjuster, right? And their problem is, you know, they just don't believe that, you know, every roofing contractor says that it's damaged. Whatever. Like, I don't believe. They've got to, and you've got to demonstrate empathy and authority to them. You know, that you do know this, you can prove this. You're not trying to pull a fast one on them. You know, you can document it using hail trace. You can document it using photos. All of these types of things, right? But that's a very different storyline that you're going to put together than a homeowner that has their kid getting married right away, or a homeowner that's got financial difficulties, or a homeowner that has had 3 contractors out and they just can't figure out what's wrong, why it's leaking. So all of these are important things for you to really have the homeowner connect with your quote. You need to first understand, you know, you need to understand them. You need to have empathy and connect with them and know them. You need to understand their problem and make sure that you understand the correct problem, not the one you think it is. And you need to demonstrate authority, that you've got a solution to fix that and you've done it before. So those are 3, you know, that big thing of solving that. You're not going to be able to solve it if you don't connect all those 3 pieces together. So I will keep moving here. So 4th one, selection. Selection is a big thing. Consumers want choice, just not too much choice. And so we need to be intentional that we're guiding them through that process. What I clipped out here was from a Good, Better, Best quote that I had put together. And you see here that, you know, the good obviously was your typical quote that you would have been thinking about. So it's, you know, product. We're going to replace, you know, the field shingles, the hip ridge, valley, you know, the underlays, all that stuff, right? So what we're doing here now is now we're starting to connect with the homeowner more, give them some selection, but help them understand why this stuff's important. So we're saying includes everything from good, but with the following upgrades. We're giving them some product upgrades so they understand that, but then we're focusing on the advantages. Why should they spend thousands, a couple $1,000s more for this versus the other one? Right? And you start getting the homeowner thinking as they're going through this stuff, oh, this is stuff that matters to me, right? It makes sense to them. You make it easy for them to understand because you've put it in language that really, right? No ugly roof, period. That's the language they understand, right? Hey, I want a roof I can trust, but the best seems pretty expensive. People often default to that better. So if you can put those packages together for them, and you don't have to do a good, better, best. You can do, here's my quote, here are some additional optional upgrades.
Yeah.
And it just becomes a natural part of your conversation, right?
Yeah. And I think like this portion of the listening, that's where this all comes into play, right? You're actually being able to sell this in a really clean manner too. I think part of the other half of what you guys do particularly so well, Ryan, is you help the contractor to actually move that thought process into paper in a seamless manner that doesn't overwhelm the contractor, right? So you as a contractor can jump into SumoQuote's portal, build all of this once, and tweak it for each homeowner, and actually be able to give that to them in 10 minutes, in 5 minutes, and plug and play those things, which I think streamlining the process so that the homeowner understands it is so important, but also not overwhelming the contractor is just as important, because this is easy to see and understand, right? The description, the advantages, which helps to speak to everything we talked about before. So I love how this is laid out, very clean.
Yeah, well, and you were talking about just doing those little tweaks and customizations to make sure that it's connecting and hitting it home with each homeowner. Not that you need to completely rewrite something every time.
Right. Yeah.
Ted Williams wrote a book called The Science of Hitting, right? Baseball player. One of baseball's all-time greatest hitters, right? He did this back in the 1960s, way before big data and all this other stuff came along. And he knew that there were 77 spaces a baseball could go through the strike zone. And he knew his batting average through every single spot that the baseball could go through the strike zone.
Yeah.
And when I share that example, the reason I share it is as an analogy for you to think, okay, as a contractor, you're not the batter here, you're the pitcher. Yeah. And as a pitcher, if you're using the exact same looking quote every single time, and you don't try and customize or just do some little tweaks to connect with the homeowner and, to understand their problem and solve their specific problem, what you're doing essentially is you're just hucking the ball out there. If it's the same looking quote every time, you don't know if you're throwing a ball or a strike, if you're throwing low and outside or right in their sweet spot. You're just hucking it out there. But if you make it easy to understand, you connect it to their specific home, their specific project, and their specific pain, and it's not difficult. You can just do a few minor tweaks, but now you're starting to throw it closer to their sweet spot where they can hit that thing and you see your closing percentage go up, right? That's the goal of all of this.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and finally, you got to prove it, right? Social proof provides confidence because you can't trust the food in an empty restaurant, right?
Yeah.
We all, when we are buying, we all look online. We all look at Google reviews. We all do the research on things now. It's because it's easy. It's simple to do. And so there are things, so yes, focus on your website, focus on getting Google reviews, focus on getting testimonials, focus on all of this stuff, but provide that in your quote, because again, ultimately, people are making the decision when they're sitting at that table looking at your quote. So if you're not putting any social proof into your actual quote and sales presentation, you're missing a huge advantage there. And so, again, this is the first time that I've run this specific webinar. So this is where it was late at night and I just end up getting tired last night and using crazy fonts and doing whatever. But there are different subtle ways that you can include social proof into your quotes. This doesn't need to be difficult stuff, right? slide in the AtlasPro logo right on your cover page. It's social proof. You're showing them that you can be a trusted contractor and that other corporations, companies trust you, that you've been trained, that you know this stuff, right? Create a page on testimonials. This is one that we use for our company. And the cool thing is we actually embed a YouTube link in the image so that when they click on this, it just opens up a browser tab for them and they can watch the video of this homeowner. But just in case they don't watch the video, we've put a quote in here. So, but what they talk about is, and I think you guys all know this, the job that you've got the greatest chance of closing is when it's been referred to you by somebody else, right? If it's a neighbor and the neighbor was raving to their neighbor, you got to use Epic Roofing. They're the best, right? Odds are you're going to close that job, right? The next best thing, if you don't have a direct referral, is for another human out there to refer or talk about the experience they had with you. So even if they don't know that person, these things start to be that next level of social proof that you can have to try and reinforce who you are, the type of experience you're going to provide, and so on. So, Tiara, that, I mean, we've nailed our 5 points here, our 5 elements. I want to take some time for questions, but I also want to give people, just so that they don't think this stuff's difficult, just a quick, 5-minute tour of SumoQuote.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. And just to remind you guys, as you're looking at this stuff, Ryan's going to show you how simple this is, right? Their tool is amazing. You can jump into your AtlasPro portal actually today and click a button and get signed up with SumoQuote. They make it very simple to be able to incorporate a look and feel that's professional. And we've gotten nothing but rave reviews from our contractors, Ryan, that have started using the tool, and they absolutely love it. So, I mean, well done to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, almost like we come from the industry, right? Almost.
Yeah. Doug says, gives you a shout out, Ryan. He says, the new 2.0 and SumoQuote is a game changer for his company. So
awesome. Okay, cool. Well, Doug, I'm going to show a couple of the highlights of that 2.0 because we just launched that the other day. So I'm going to, here we go. I'm going to back this up just a bit, but I'm going to walk you through just a very quickly a sort of a standard quote as we're going through this stuff, right? So again, on the cover page here, we put the client's house on there. It connects with them, right? It's got that emotional connection. We've got that social proof on here as well. And by the way, this stuff totally customizable with all your branding, colors, everything. We start to educate them on the process here, right? And we start to potentially even, connect. We could say, hey, hope you had a great time at the cabin on the weekend. If you know that stuff, you can start to insert all these elements in here, right? Again, now we start to educate and provide potentially a solution here, right? If they've had this issue, then this is something that helps them understand how you're going to solve that for them, right? This is one that we built for our company, how to compare contractors, and we're trying to differentiate, but we're also trying to help the homeowner. This is that, hey, I know we all look the same, sound the same, even smell the same, but there's some pretty important differences if you're comparing contractors out there. Here are really what they are. And of course, we built this to stuff we're very strong at, right? So we go through testimonials, we're educating, we're showing photos, including this stuff. Here's where we're doing our good, better, best in this scenario. So our good, and then our better, where we're talking about the advantages and why it matters to them, and then our best. And so we're giving them selection in here. In SumoQuote, they can easily select the package they want, select additional upgrades that they want, product selections, e-sign, so all that stuff's done in here. But again, we're making it convenient and simple for them. So when they hit this page, they're picking colors when they're signing, so we stitch in color options. right? So we go through all this, but of course you do want to include your terms and conditions. So that's a quick sample of what a full presentation can look like. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna bounce over into SumoQuote here. I'm just gonna build a quote for you really quick. And so I can create a new project. Here's some of my past projects that I've been working on. We've got some great integration. So I'm gonna actually use this one from CompanyCam. I'll search for the customer name or address, and I'm gonna link this from CompanyCam. So I'm just bypassing that, create the project and entering it in, and I'm pulling this information straight in. And now what I can do is go down here and start creating a new report, right? So I click on that. These pages should look familiar, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through all these, but you know, a title page, toggle it on, and then go through, have a secondary logo, have the homeowner information, drag and drop an image of their house in here, or if you're on an iPad, just click it, it'll open your camera app, you can snap the picture. Because we've gotten this connected to CompanyCam, I'm just going to access my CompanyCam photos for this project and drop in the customer's house on the cover. And then if I hit view page here, I can see what this thing looks like, right? So we've got our cover page done, fast and easy. So I can go to the introduction page, type in whatever I want to here, or I just go view templates and I use my retail text, right? Hi, customer first name, thanks for the opportunity. Following estimate is for blah, blah, blah. Salesperson name, and again, view page, right? And we've got a title and introduction page done. This is, you can use these templates really quick. It's often nice to personalize it with that sentence or two, right? To try and connect with them and make sure that they're feeling, you know, some of the equity that you've already built up with them, you're sliding in here as well. Inspection pages I won't touch on, but drag and drop in photos, crop them, mark them up, super easy. Quotes, roofing quote, you know, fill in your measurements. We've got some really slick measurement stuff coming up, which is awesome. You can add additional quotes in here, right? I can use my templates and grab a Hardy quote. So easy to do all this stuff. I'm going to jump down to custom pages because I think this is a really cool option. But right, our roofing custom page, and grabbing that Scotchgard one, and then going up here and clicking on this page and just dragging and dropping it up in your presentation. And so really easy to build and customize all this stuff. The 2.0 that was just launched, we just launched this, choose a different layout. So this layout of these pages and this content being put together, we've just built it so that you can save layouts. So rather than starting from scratch each time, I can go choose a different layout, and I can go to my retail roofing, click on that. It's going to overwrite this report, but I've got all my pages, all my content, right? Everything is set up. Everything is ready to go. I'm literally just going, maybe I've got a stockholder image, but I can delete that one and drop on my actual homeowner's house on there instead, right? And I'm tweaking a couple of numbers, personalizing a couple of things, maybe in the inspection, and I go review and share on this, and I can be done. So this is something now where when you've got those measurements ready to go, you punch those in and you go through, you've got everything preset, you can build this stuff in a minute or two. And we redesigned everything so that this is just as fast on a phone as it is on your actual desktop. So it's fully mobile responsive, very, very fast and easy to use. So I don't want to go into too much detail on this part of it, but I will go right here. And I'm going to just show you this quickly. If you are interested in a demo of SumoQuote, we would love to show you all the nuts and bolts of it, right? How to set it so that you can get notified when a homeowner opens it and clicks on it, how you can use e-signing and have it all done virtually. If you're interested in a demo, hit this QR code, just pull out the camera on your phone because any phone is doing this these days. If you're interested just in signing up for a demo, hit the QR code on your left. If you want a link just to take you to sign up for a free trial account, hit the QR code on your right. And when you do that, we're going to ask you, when you're signing up for a new trial, how'd you hear about us? Say Atlas, click on the Atlas one. We're going to preload a bunch of Atlas content in there for you at no cost. So we're going to give you some great Atlas brochure pages. We're going to give you some pre-built quotes and templates. So stuff can be set up really fast and easy in there. The stuff I've been showing you, we're going to load in there for you with all your Atlas content, and you'll be set up really fast and ready to go. So I'll leave this up here for a minute, but Tiara, do we have any questions on some of this stuff here?
So we had a question. I'm just looking through here to see what questions have come in. Yeah, guys, go ahead and put in any questions about engaging on the process, how the tool works. I will say, you know, from the setup process has been super easy, especially with, you know, the Atlas contractors already having that pre-built template. It makes it super simple because you will all already get Pinnacle, StoreMaster, a ProLam options in there. And so it integrates very seamlessly. We have some questions about CRM integrations that you guys allow.
Yeah, so currently we're integrated with Job Nimbus. We've got one coming up with Job Progress shortly. And so now we're probably, the Job Nimbus one has more APIs built and webhooks built. So we've been able to do a little bit more than them with some of the other ones. The other thing we're going to focus on getting done in the next probably 2 months here, 2 to 3 months, is getting a Zap built, so that there's a number of CRMs out there that you can use that Zapier to connect with. So that's something we're going to be building on our side shortly, but the main one right now is Job Nimbus for sure.
Awesome. Cool. And then to talk a little bit about the onboarding process for a contractor once they would get started. So, you know, I know we have our page that's in our portal where contractors can log into their pro portal and click on the SumoQuote button and request, you know, that demo tool. What other, like, what is the best way to get onboarded, and what does that process workflow look like?
Totally. So it's a great question because there's a lot of software out there that's unbelievably painful to get set up and going with. SumoQuote, we tend to get a lot of feedback that we're the opposite, that it's way faster and easier. Yeah. We have preloaded a lot of templates in there. And a lot of those are roofing templates that we've used with our roofing company to help grow us over the years. But your branding is simply drag and drop it in, click on, you know, your colors to put it in there, and you're basically set up and going. For a bit more hand holding, like, so we've obviously got all sorts of videos you can watch and content, you know, through our site that you have access to. But as soon as you're signed up as a paid user, we give you access to our customer success team, and you can just book times with them in there directly in their calendar to meet. They'll help, you know, make sure things are tuned up. They'll answer questions. They'll help make sure, you know, that you're understanding templates, and they'll build some templates with you. If there's templates of ours that you love or that you're wondering about, and you don't currently see them as a sample in there, they can get those loaded for you. So we try and do a lot of hand holding to make it easy for you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Ryan, just wanted to thank you again. I think this content was awesome today. Thanks for just putting that out there to our contractors so that they can maximize that and be really efficient with the estimating process in terms of those 5 steps. So I love that, and really appreciate you again.
Yeah, it was great, Tara. I always love connecting with the folks over at Atlas there. Like, you guys are leading in a lot of this this side of how to give great tools, but also from a product side, how do you help sell, you know, the great products that you've got put together there for your contractors. So yeah, always fun connecting with you on this stuff.
For sure. Well, Asphalt Lifers, thanks again. So glad you guys were able to join. Listen, we will see you next month on next month's webinar. Check out atlasroofing.com/events to stay up to date on what's coming. And until then, continue to live, roof, and play together. Stay safe.
Thanks,
Bye,
you guys.
Ryan.
Take care. See ya.